Hi everybody, I'm Soledad O'Brien and I am a journalist and I actually have a lot of jobs. I run a production company called Soledad O'Brien Productions. I also anchor a TV show that airs most weekends around the country. It's called Matter of Fact with Soledad O'Brien. We do that show with Hearst Television. And then I'm a correspondent. I'm a reporter for HBO Real Sports. So that's actually a lot of jobs. I love what I get to do because I think it's really interesting. You meet a lot of people, and I thought I would talk a little bit about my job, and for you who want to learn how to write or tell your own story, maybe I have some tips. So I'm making this video for 826 National's Write Your Way Forward series. So, as I said, I love my job. It's really fun. I think what I like the most is when I get sent out on a story, because that means what we call we're out in the field. We go somewhere to travel. And I think I find it most interesting because you get to meet a lot of people. I mean, especially if it's something, somebody and something that's happening that wouldn't be something you'd experience in your normal life. So I get to interview people who are usually doing some very, very exciting things. I get to cover a lot of breaking news at times. I get to travel not just around the country, but around the globe. So I think my job really probably is up there with one of the coolest jobs there is. It's one of the reasons that I like my job a whole lot. The way we start is with research. And I would say research, research, research. You really have to understand the story you're telling, right? What is it about? There might be something that interests you. How do people make ice cream? Okay, well, let's start with research. We want to actually understand the story that we're going to tell because we want to make sure we're capturing all parts of it. So we usually start with an absolute ton of research. You also want to be able to take all that research, for me it's usually stacks of it, and then kind of pull it into like a couple of pages. What is your story about? Can you actually explain to someone who doesn't know you and who doesn't know the story why the story matters? Why is it important to you? Why do you think it's actually worth going to go and shoot this story? Part of the reason for that is you want to be very efficient. You want to make sure you're telling an important story, an interesting story. So can you even explain what it is? Part of the reason is also because shooting is very expensive. We shoot on, some people can shoot on their phone sometimes. Sometimes you shoot with a big camera. You can shoot on film like they do for movies. But really, no matter what you're doing, if you're traveling and shooting in the field, well then guess what? It's going to be pretty expensive. So you don't want to spend all your time wandering around trying to figure out what your story is. You actually want to kind of know what your story is before you actually go out into the field. I think, and I've been really pushing for a long time about the importance of diverse stories because, of course, we all have our point of view. My take on school is probably very different than your take on school. Why? I'm a lot older than you are, and I had a really different experience. It doesn't mean that my take is better or your take is better. It just means that you probably have something to learn from my story, and I probably have a lot to learn from your story. So I like to encourage people to really think about how to tell their story, how do you pull out all the elements that are really interesting, and how do you explain to people why your story, the telling of that particular story, matters right now. Why should I care? What's interesting about it? We have something called an elevator pitch. It's not just in news, but it's a way of saying, if I only gave you 30 seconds, how would you explain what you want to do? Why are you passionate about it? Why does it matter? Make me care as much as you care about telling your story. So I think that it's really important to tell those stories, but it's even more important to be able to explain to people why your story matters so that they can say, yes, I like that, go out and do it. I hope that for those of you who are interested in telling your own stories, you'll take this as encouragement and get out there and do it. It's really, really fun, no matter if you're traveling far or you're not traveling very far. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to find even more inspiration for your next piece of writing, head to 826digital.com for hundreds of free writing sources from 826.